Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Grow up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
With the new year upon us, we thought we'd have a lighthearted discussion about booze. We're leaving the judgment behind. We can't really offer judgment about this one. We're talking the pros and cons, societal shifts, and even animal indulgences.
Growing up, my parents were teetotalers. Cole didn't know that word. That means they didn't drink at all. Until my dad was transferred to a job in Houston where work parties included drinks. That was also when the legal drinking age was 18, which I was. My husband stopped drinking years ago because of his faith convictions, somewhat based on a disagreement with a group of men about one of them having a glass of wine and was it all right to do that for an anniversary. If we go out to dinner, I might order a drink. He won't. I've never had to deal with an alcoholic parent or a spouse, and I like the variety of different drinks. Muddled basil, jalapeno, and watermelon with tequila is one of my favorite as a spicy dolce.
For me, alcohol has always felt less like a moral question and more like a social one. Drinking has just been there. Parties, tailgates, weddings, dinners. It's almost a default setting in most situations. I've had phases where drinking was fun and connective, and others where I drank because everyone else was, even when it didn't really serve me. I felt the pressure to go with the flow, pun definitely intended. I've even carried warm, full drinks around just to avoid the, why aren't you drinking? Oh my God, are you pregnant? Come on, let's have fun pressures. It always feels like somebody needs an explanation, and I'm just not interested in giving them one. I'm coming into this conversation less focused on whether or not alcohol is good or bad. That's a personal decision for each person. I'm more curious about why booze plays such a role in our lives, socially and or privately, and whether it actually deserves the top shelf status that we've given it.
I, on the other hand, have probably been the heaviest drinker out of the three of us, particularly in my early 20s. I started working in nightclubs and bars when I was 18, and in those institutions or establishments, drinking was part of the job. Friday night, and some douche nozzle tried to pick a fight. Throw him through a door and head to the back bar for a shot of tequila with your favorite bartender, just to blow off some steam and take the edge off of the adrenaline. Monday morning and you're opening the bar after a long weekend, how about some hair of the dog, a maker's mark with a friend and regular? Why not? They're buying. Breakfast of champions. Regardless of whether it was something good or something bad that happened, the answer was to drink about it. And I'll be the first to say, most of the time it was to our own detriment. After losing one of my favorite people in the world in an alcohol-related accident and watching two of my closest friends turn yellow from nearly drinking themselves to death, I pumped the brakes. Thankfully, so did they. I still drink on occasion, but I keep myself on a 2-drink limit, and it's only on occasion. It's no longer a lifestyle.
So between the three of us, we've covered alcohol as a choice, a social default, and a full-blown lifestyle.
And that's kind of the point. The same substance plays very different roles in different people's lives.
Which raises the real question for today. What is alcohol actually doing for us, individually and culturally, and when does it stop helping? Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom.
I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Mom. So I find it entertaining. We're having this discussion, and I don't think any of us have had a drink in the last, I don't know how long. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I had a couple 2 nights ago.
Okay.
So here's my kind of first question to kick this off. When you picture alcohol, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it a celebration? Is it relaxation, obligation, danger, fun? What are you using alcohol for?
The only picture that comes to mind is just a bar top.
I think for me, it's a relaxation or a wind down. And part of mine is just for the fun of having something different.
I, here in the last year or so, have very, very much backed off of drinking for moments, very completely, for months at a time, because it felt like this obligation. I was supposed to drink. Everybody around me was drinking, so I had to do it too. And I walk around with my little cup of water and everybody's like, "You need a drink." And I'm like, "I got my water. I'm fine." And let me just say, it took a minute before they just stopped asking. Do you think that
So
alcohol has added more harm or more good to your life overall?
I'm going to say more harm.
Yeah,
I don't think it was fear so much as it just was, especially growing up,
coming of age.
coming of age. Thank you. It was a coming of age thing, and so and I was younger than when y'all started. I mean, significantly younger than when y'all started drinking, and so it. I wonder if really young people have the knowledge to know where their limits are.
I don't know if it's a knowledge, it's probably a wisdom thing, and young people are not well known for their great depths of wisdom, myself
Yeah,
included.
yeah. I mean, I definitely drank more when I was younger than I do now, for sure. And had some stupid incidences that occurred. So, and thankfully didn't do any serious harm, but
It makes all of your bad ideas sound like good ideas, Dewey.
yeah, I mean, sometimes it really does. So,
I I tend to get sleepy and I just kind of Houdini. And that's not really a bad thing if I'm at home or with friends who are keeping an eye on me. That hasn't always been the case, though, and I've made some decisions that I am very, very much not proud of, and so that's kind of the fear for me. You wake up the next day going, "What the hell happened? I don't
yeah.
even know what I did," and I hate that.
I've had too many of those mornings.
I am really, really not proud of that, and so I stepped way back. I'm with you, Cole. I've got a 2 drink limit and I'm done, and I will sit there and nurse those drinks, and I may not finish them, and that's
Well,
plenty.
I
there's
am
no
not a
nursing it. You drink it
mm,
like you mean it, and then you get out of there.
I don't
or
mean it.
sip it because you want to enjoy it. I'm not a wine drinker. Um, and I really don't drink tea at a restaurant or anything like so it's either this is gonna sound stupid, but it's either water or, an alcoholic beverage that I'm gonna indulge in. I think in some ways it's been a social glue. It's kinda like you say, Cal, sometimes there's a peer pressure that goes along with that. And there was definitely what did we read here a while back that said it recommended it was DOAC, um, where he said,
A
"Oh, I
social
think boy."
lubricant.
Yeah, it's a
Scott
social lubricant,
Galloway.
Mhm.
Scott Galloway, and that it it takes down the
Pressure.
Inhibition.
anxiety yeah, and so he recommended it, and I remember thinking when we all kinda went, "Not sure I agree with that," especially when you're talking about young guys. But
I mean,
I mean, there
I
is
get it and agree to an extent, but I
yeah.
also think that it's really, really difficult, particularly for young people, to know when that extent ends.
Right, the
Yeah, because the
line
more you drink, the less your logic really works.
holds up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is some legitimate thought to using alcohol as a social lubricant. I kind of like Cole saying, I also think that it's a really fine line. I think that it's nice to say, hey, I'm going to go talk to that person. I'm nervous about this. I'm nervous about this. Let me go talk to them. Okay, I can do it. And I think that you can cross over that line, kind of letting those inhibitions fall to the wayside, but you can cross over that line pretty quickly and easily. And some alcohol, at least in my experience, is pretty sneaky. And so you're like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Holy shit, what happened yesterday? And I don't love that.
I I do like the relaxation because I do think it kinda just helps you to go, "Oh." work's done, it's the evening, let's relax. But
Sure. And in moderation, that's probably fine. But,
yeah,
Mom, how many times are you having 6 margaritas?
not very
Never.
often these days.
Say once a year, cumulatively.
I mean, it's pretty rare for us to drink here, to drink at home. So mine is really, I'm at dinner with someone. And I don't drink with everybody that I know because I know that if there are people that we hang out with who don't drink, then I don't order a drink in front of them. So it's not a have to kind of thing. But I mean, Callie, you did I think you went to New York City and y'all had places picked out and you did different drinks
Oh,
and
yeah.
you just had a ball because you weren't getting drunk. You were experiencing the different kind of atmospheres of those places. And those were really people who I would call mixologists. I mean, they were professionals. They weren't just bartenders, doing heavy pours. They were invested in what they were creating.
So I have a funny story from that specific trip. So we did kind of a whole tour de la cocktails of New York City. And we had a spreadsheet. There was all kinds of research and thought put into it about all these places that we wanted to go and see and visit and drinks that we wanted to try and specialty things. And it was over the course of several days. But I have a funny story. We walked into this brand new bar. It was called Mace, and it had just opened. They had just done their soft launch, and there was no one in it. There was a door guy and a bartender. And we go, and it was me and a friend, and we sat down, and he ran to the bathroom, and the door guy comes up, and he's like, "Oh, hey, how are you? How'd you find out about us? We just opened. How'd you get here?" And I strike up a conversation, and we're chatting, and we're chatting, and we're chatting, and okay, no big deal. I didn't think anything about it. Well, my friend comes back and we're chatting with this store guy and everything was fine. And then the next thing you know, I didn't know. I didn't have a clue because this is how not tuned into everything that I am. But the next thing you know, the door guy excuses himself. He has to go take care of something. Come to find out, my friend knew exactly who he was. He was not just the door guy. He was the guy who founded the bar. He's actually the founder of it's a company called Cocktail Kingdom, which does all kinds of bar tools and trainings. And I mean, he's a big, big deal. Katana Kitten and Mace and the Cabinet Mezcal Bar. And I mean, all kinds of Sip and Santa cocktail pop-up bars. And his name's Greg. I didn't know. He was just chatting with me and he was surprised that we were there. And so we had the best time just sitting there chatting. I didn't know. And it was so much fun, but it was a real treat, especially for my friend who was like, "Do you know who that is? That's Greg Bohm, I think is his name." Like, I don't even know. And I mean, we sat there and chatted with him for an hour or so while we were there. And he was like, "You guys should come down to my office and it's over here. And I have all of these antique cocktail books and recipes and things like this." I mean, he is one of the top people in the alcohol industry in New York City specifically. And I just happened to strike up a conversation with him because I was there by myself almost. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, they did all kinds of barware and cocktail tools, and it truly was a craft. And so he sent us to all kinds of different places around the city, and it was so much fun. But like you said, we weren't getting drunk. We weren't there to get drunk. We were there to enjoy this craft. It was an art, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
we went to another place that he had opened previously that was cocktails that were inspired by all of these people's global travels. And so I had a cocktail that
Mm.
had ants in it from Central America. Don't make that face. It was beautiful and divine. She who
Mm.
has been turned on to pisco sours, like
True.
they're cousins. But it was so much fun and it was so cool. But we were experiencing it and enjoying it as an art form, not as a escape.
So my brother-in-law loved gin. And I think gin is the nastiest thing. I mean, it tastes like dirty tennis shoes to me.
It tastes like Christmas trees.
Yeah.
No, it's worse
Gin
than that.
is delicious.
No, it's worse than that. And George loved gin, and I just could not go there with him until, Callie, you took me to a place in Houston, and your friend met us there, and she sold gin, and she knew
Yes.
everything about it. And she ordered for me, and it was lovely. It did
Yeah.
not taste like dirty tennis shoes. It was a delightful drink, but I would not ever go there again without her because she knew what she was doing. And so I think there's a connoisseur level to this that that's the part that I wanna see is where it's fun to go and try something different and to have those different flavors
Yeah.
and the different ideas. I don't wanna just go,
Got drunk
yes,
and call it a day.
yeah. I mean, think about Cheers, and we've talked about Cheers on here before, but, where it's just a place that you go to have fun, but you have to be careful with it, I think.
Just like with anything else, there is very much a spectrum between drinking for the effect and drinking for the flavor or the experience, if you
Yeah.
will. And just like I've said before, just like anything else, you have to approach it with intentionality. If you don't, it is probable for it to get out of hand.
Well, and I think, we talked about the social lubricant. I think that there really is it's a spectrum of drinking, right? You can drink some to let your inhibitions go a little bit and relax yourself a little bit and be really who you truly are. Be more vibrant as who you truly are without the fear of judgment or confusion or frustration from other outside factors, or you can let it turn you into somebody who is no longer accountable.
Yeah.
And you're doing all of these crazy things and you're acting a fool, and people are judging you in the process of that anyway, which is not the bar, right? But the accountability for your actions, I think, is the important part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry I was drunk only works so many times.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, my goal is to do some Irish pubs one year because it just sounds like it would be fun to go through and because I think they're built differently. They're really centers of the community and not just hot spots to hit, for the social hour.
But I think you and I we have a spot on our bucket list for going to Ireland, and we're looking to go to Irish pubs, like, in Ireland, right? We're not
Yes.
going to drink dark beer and Guinness and make a huge scene, like, "Ooh, that sounds like a horrible plan to me," but to experience the camaraderie of a different culture that we've never
Yeah.
experienced,
Yeah.
and I wanna be able to remember that tomorrow.
Yeah. Me too. I don't want to get up with a headache the next day. So I I also think it's really interesting that the changes that we've seen over the generation. I mean, I think with my grandparents and probably even with my parents, it 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 was beer. We drank beer. It was cheap and um, e easily plentiful, and the guys drink it. And that was kind of it. And maybe there were some Mad Men moments in there where there were cocktail hours too. My parents were never a part of that, so I didn't see that. But now it looks like there's really a trend to not drink.
Well, I think that we talked about this in our episode specifically about the millennial lifestyle and things like that. And I think Gen Z has taken it really to the next level of taking care of themselves and their bodies in a different way and not kind of falling victim to, well, this is just the norm and this is what we do. And I think that that varies and changes, especially regionally. I I was up in Wisconsin for a wedding and was pushed out of the way after the ceremony by the priest or whoever it was that performed so that he could get to the bar and go get a beer. And it was a little aggressive. But I mean, it's different, I think, regionally. And so I think that I can certainly see kind of the rise of people thinking about their health more. There's all kinds of research about what the health impacts and effects are of doing a dry January or a sober October. And so then I think that especially Gen Z and some, I'll give you some millennials too, who have taken that to the next level in the commercialization of that. Hey, we're going to put together sober bars. We're going to put together non-alcoholic options. We're going to do mocktails and things like that that I think are really interesting from a different perspective. We're going to keep the social element, but we're going to get the unhealthy part of it, the dangerous part of it. And we're just not going to mess with that. I feel like they've kind of taken all of the good pieces, kept all of those pieces in play, and turned it into something that could be a winner.
And for me, for what I'm looking for with that, a sober bar or a mocktail is the same thing. I'm going for the experience and the flavor and the,
Camaraderie.
variety there. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely a fascinating idea for sober bars. I'm a little I cannot ever see my generation doing that. It just isn't in their
What's the
makeup.
point?
Yeah.
Because I think that there is I think it's a slippery slope, alcohol in general, right? I think that you can use it, and I think that you can abuse it. And there, again, is a really fine line about that that's blurred very easily between this is fun and this is problematic. This is enjoyable and relaxing, and this is dangerous. I mean, we, Cole, especially in the kind of world that you grew up in bars and things like that, it was funny for people to have blackout stories. Oh, so and so's blackout tonight. Oh, we're getting blackout. We're getting, what is it? White girl wasted or chocolate wasted, or I mean, all of these like goofy things. And it was supposed to be funny. And then
Yeah,
you
to the
sit
point that
back.
everyone had a drunk alter ego with a different name.
Yeah. And Hangover, I mean, the Hangovers, the movie, it was this big, huge kind of normalizing really bad behavior. And I think that there's just a difference between this is fun and this is out of control.
There's definitely a difference.
I think that our society has done us a disservice again, and I'm part of that. But I think that we've done ourselves a disservice for normalizing bad behavior.
I think that there may be some exacerbation to that, but drinking to excess is not something new. This
No.
is something that humans have been doing for thousands of years. Inns and taverns and bars and booze are not a new thing, and it's something that has been quite normal for societies to partake in, again, for most of recorded history.
You make me think of the stories that, I mean, like, there was a guy on Andy Griffith who was the drunk guy. And he came in and he would close himself into the cell because he knew that he'd gone too far. It didn't stop him, but he knew he'd gone too far. And the way that they dealt with him, I mean, there's stories after stories like that.
But I think that, and maybe I just feel like that we as a society haven't done a very good job of being able to delineate when there is problematic behavior. I mean, his name's Otis, right? Opie?
Otis.
Otis? Okay.
Otis. Opie
Um,
was a little boy. He was not a drunk.
that's good. That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
But I think that we have said, "Oh, Otis does it. He drinks and he just takes care of it and goes and puts himself in the cell. And so it's okay."
Yeah.
And maybe we need to take a step back and say, why is he drinking so much? Maybe we should again address the root cause instead of laughing and pointing as he goes and closes himself in the cell.
Yeah. It's
I think
not
we've
really
got
a
to be
joke.
careful. Yeah, it really isn't a joke. And, Cole's already talked about a couple of stories of people in his life and that has impact. There is a ripple effect on everybody around you to have an alcoholic mom or dad or brother or cousin, whatever it may be, friend even, Like, then something happens and it impacts everybody,
Yeah.
even peripherally. And there's danger in some of that I think that we have glamorized and made too much of a punchline that we need to be more cognizant of.
Agree.
I think
But
that's fair.
we talked about Gen Z and things like that and how they've kind of taken it upon themselves to be more forward with their sobriety and sober curious. But I also think, and this might get me in a little bit of trouble, I think that it's also been really interesting, like I mentioned, the rise of mocktails and things like that, which part of me, I'm very cheap. I have a hard time going and spending $16 for a mix of several different juices.
It better be a pretty slick experience, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I also don't drink sodas and things at restaurants because I don't wanna pay for those either, but I have been very, very fascinated with the rise, especially here in Texas in the last probably about year of THC and CBD canned cocktails or canned drinks, and I'm not gonna lie, I have partaken on many an occasion. I enjoy them so much more than alcohol because I don't wake up feeling like shit the next day.
Well,
I
I mean,
That's interesting.
it's a lot more difficult to overdo it with those, in my
Yeah,
opinion. And I wouldn't say that they reduce your inhibitions the same way that drinking alcohol does.
it's
Mm.
So I
different
think
for
think it's harder to let it get out of hand
Mhm.
for those. I mean, sure,
Mm.
you can surely you can drink too much and have a poor experience, but again, not really a hangover from something like that. I mean, particularly in the state of Texas, it's a little bit harder to come by and they tend to be in relatively low concentrations.
In Houston, you have them everywhere except HEB because HEB doesn't do marijuana in any capacity. I will be really curious to see how that changes, especially with the legislation that's going on both federally and at the state level with Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and things like that. I've been watching all of their choices and moves that have been making and vetoes and all kinds of weird stuff. And Trump has talked about he's just recently declassified marijuana and
Rescheduled, not
rescheduled. I
declassified.
I I said that wrong. Yes, thank you. I'll be really curious. I mean, but you go to any liquor store in Houston and there are CBD or THC canned cocktails ready to go. I mean,
Sure, but at least locally in our region, that has not really taken off as a social setting. That is something that you go and take home and do at home.
I don't know, we've got whole bars. I mean, Eighth Wonder is really, really heavily invested in marijuana cocktails, marijuana drinks. I mean, much more so than a lot of other places, and it's their primary business, and so you can go to the brewery and sit around and drink your CBD cocktails and have a great time and move it
So if
along.
you're doing CBD, can you drink more of those without an effect or fewer of
Well, here's the
those?
thing, CBD in and of itself isn't psychoactive.
Okay. So what are you accomplishing with the CBD drink?
It's that social lubrication without all of the rest of the side effects. You don't have the hangover, in my experience. You don't have the hangover. You There have certainly been a few that I've drank and I'm like, "There is no way I can drive right now." But I'm still aware of it. I'm still alert and cognizant of what's going on. I don't I
Your
don't
decision making isn't impaired.
same
Not
way.
in the same way,
Uh,
Jinx.
and
That's not
so
exactly encouraging, y'all. Not in the
mm,
same way.
Um,
it's more low stakes. It's not like,
yeah.
"Holy shit, I'm shit faced and I need to jump behind the wheel and get home so that I don't have to deal with all of this being out and about and all of the overwhelming scaries of being out around people," and then you hop behind the wheel. It's just like, "Oh, huh,
You're not losing
I'm gonna go
control
lay
of your
down and watch a movie."
facilities.
Yeah,
So that means you can drive without impairment?
I am not
I mean, you
advocating for that
shouldn't.
at all.
Okay, because I was just wondering, if you get stopped, what are the repercussions of that? Do we even know, or are these
It's
early
driving
enough
under
in
the influence. That's why it doesn't say under the influence of alcohol.
Hmm,
It's driving under the
interesting.
influence of a substance, a mind-altering substance.
Interesting.
But again,
But
I
I mean,
think
you
that
can
you're
get that for lots of different things.
oh, for sure.
Opioids, benzoates.
I was gonna say too much Zyrtec or I mean, there's
I
lots of
mean,
medications that'll
probably, but
affect you
yeah.
negatively.
Sudafed.
Yeah. Mm, yeah. And
I think that
again,
you just stay
we have not ever really experienced trauma as a family based on alcohol, which is definitely a blessing. I've known other people who have, and my friend. I have a friend that I definitely don't drink in front of because her dad was a mean alcoholic, and I know that, and so I just don't do that around her. And I think it bothers her in part because of the mindset that they have, that it is a social thing and it has to go, and they're not considering any of the repercussions. And she's lived the repercussions, so I think she knows
right.
it makes her fearful, I think.
Interesting. I hope that especially Gen Z and kind of the tail end of millennials have continue on a path to destigmatize the not drinking thing. Like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, it can be really obnoxious to be sitting there with my water cup and people are like, "You need a cocktail. You need to come do shots
Yeah.
with me. We need to go get drunk." And I'm like, "I don't really wanna."
And
And
why do
there's
you think
judgment.
that is necessary? Why do you think people feel like they have to say that or do that?
Because they don't want to be the only one making bad decisions.
You think that's it?
I'm gonna drag you
Yes.
down with
Well, that's not very kind.
Welcome to
Hmm.
the world, little buddy.
Yeah.
like if you wanna go and drink and have a great time, like, good for you. Be respectful of everybody around you and make sure that those choices aren't bleeding over onto other people, strangers or not. But at the same time, like, if I don't want to, leave me alone too.
Yeah. I will say, I think y'all's generation has been much more wise. I mean, y'all plan, we're going to go here, so we're going to Uber so that we don't have to worry about this or think about this. We'll just Uber. And my
I
generation
think that's
wouldn't
been
have.
to our detriment.
You do?
Oh yeah, I think it's a crutch. I think it's a an excuse to make even worse
Imbibe more.
decisions. Yeah.
See, I take it as a, a mature decision that we're not going to get behind the wheel. We're not even going to put that on the table. We're going to take care of this.
But I think something like an Uber has made it easier. "Oh, responsibility's off me. I'm not driving, doesn't matter." But so kinda like Cole said, it becomes this excuse for you to say, "Oh, well, I'm not driving. I don't need to worry about anything." But because the alcohol is still having the same impacts, you're just not behind the wheel, you're still doing weird things or things that you may not should be doing.
There is a difference, though.
I think that there is, but I also think that, especially with something like Uber, I think that we have different choices. We have different options. I mean, when was the last time that you ever thought about calling for a cab in Denton, Texas? If you had a
I would think
bunch
so.
of 25-year-old females who went out together for a bachelorette party or whatever it may be, a fun Friday night to go wind down and got too drunk and I mean, there are lots of opportunities for that to go awry really quickly, especially as a female. And
Especially.
if you have your whole community out drinking with you, what drivers are you going to call? 10 years ago, you didn't have Uber to call. You're going to call your mom and say, "Mom, I'm wasted. Come get me." And spare me the lecture. Call an Uber and be done with it. I mean, or somebody had to be kind of the one on the
Designated
chopping
driver.
block to be the designated driver. Hey, we're all going to have fun and you don't get to. And I think that it was kind of a shit role. Good and necessary. It was kind of a shit role that somebody had to carry that torch for all of the rest of us. or
So do
you
you think
made
there's
bad
still
decisions.
designated drivers, or do we just Uber?
I think there are designated
I mean,
drivers.
there are still some. Uber is probably more common
I would
because you don't
agree.
need a designated driver. Everybody can have fun.
Okay. Is that what it is? It's having fun? Drinking, is it because drinking is fun, or is it the inhibitions are gone, or can you not have fun? Can you not drink and still have fun?
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think it's harder.
yeah, but I don't even know if that's true. I think that's just what we were taught.
Habit of
It's
it
like,
all.
this is what you do. I mean, think about going back to the city of Denton. Other than go to Fry Street or the square or sit in your dorm room, what are you going to do on a Friday night as a group of friends?
I mean, there's lots of things.
Such as
Like what?
You can go to the movie. You can,
where they have a bar.
not all movie theaters have bars.
Most of them do these days.
Oh, wow. I mean,
But hold
you
on.
could get them all together and play games at somebody's apartment, or go snipe hunting like we used to do, or, I mean, there's
See,
lots of
we
things.
don't, but nobody taught us snipe hunting. Okay,
You
you've
don't know what
given
that
us
means.
2 examples. One of them is fictional.
And one of them, the other, you sit there in silence and don't speak to each other. That's what watching a
Playing,
movie
Yeah,
is.
going to a
well,
movie isn't really social. Okay, so if you go to the movies by yourself, how much is it going to cost you?
it depends on where you go, but
In 2025, $20 minimum.
On a Friday night
probably going to cost you about $20 a piece.
at a minimum, and it is sitting in a dark room looking at a screen. If everybody has $20 on a Friday night in a college town, $20 in most college town bars, you can get pretty lit for several hours.
I
And
mean,
here's the thing, you're not going to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend at the movie theater.
true.
You're not really having social interaction. You're not meeting new people. And
I'm just saying there are
particularly,
other things that you can do. Go play pool, which is probably at a bar too. But maybe we need to, I mean, there used to be a dance club, a dance hall that you could go, and it was non-alcoholic. That would be fun.
In 1952, alcohol's
No.
too much of a moneymaker. This is America. Capitalism has taken
yeah,
over. We got
as
to make
someone who
every
worked
dollar
at a
we can.
dance halls have bars in them.
There are some that don't, that are family oriented and that you could go to. I'm not saying it's the easy thing to do, but I think you could find something else to do. There's no reason that you couldn't gather in somebody's dorm room and have a game night.
But
You're
again,
right.
all of those social kind of inhibitions are lessened when you add alcohol to the mix.
Okay?
You're probably not meeting very many new people if you're doing that. And if you are, it's going to get shut down.
So we don't have any options other than alcohol?
Well,
That is the
that's
perceived. That is what is perceived. Yes.
it's what you do.
It's the easy answer.
Yeah. Is it fair of me to say that I think your generation had a harder time with alcohol?
I think we
I
were
think
more overt.
yeah, I think we
Mhm.
didn't, I think we saw less need to hide it, to even attempt to hide it.
Well,
Yeah.
and more than a need to hide it, I think that hiding it was less possible. You had social media, and so, oh my God, let me post this funny video of Cole doing a keg stand. I mean, like Cole being ridiculous, whatever that may be, so I can share it with the world and we can all point and laugh at Cole in this moment. And maybe we're laughing with him, maybe we're laughing at him, but anything and everything that our generation did was thrown up on social media. It was made public for everybody to see.
Okay,
Yeah,
Cole,
I
did you
just
ever
think,
do a keg stand?
yes, of course I did.
Oh, okay. Callie?
I've never done a keg stand
Okay.
because I don't love beer. I just get full.
For for particularly for my chunk of the millennial generation, the people around me, and probably much of into Callie's too, being a drunk was not really a taboo.
Yeah. I think it was more hidden in my generation.
I agree. I think that you didn't have social media. I think that you didn't talk about it. I think that, I mean, going back, you mentioned the Mad Men era. They were all drunks. It was more socially acceptable and quieter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're making movies about how funny it is the day after when you're suffering from this horrible hangover, trying to figure out what the hell happened yesterday. I think it's been glamorized in a different way in our generation and just more upfront, more
Yeah,
overt and in your face.
I think the negative parts of it have been glamorized.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I wouldn't disagree at all. I
That's
mean,
kind of a shame.
one of my favorite movies, as goofy as it is Vacation Friends with John Cena. They're sitting there all of a sudden, they've met these friends on vacation, these people on vacation. They're like, "Oh, we'll take a margarita. We're on vacation. This is so much fun." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, this margarita is so delicious, but the salt doesn't taste very salty." And the girl's like, "Oh, that's because it's cocaine. We put the cocaine on the rims. It's so much fun. We're going to have a blast." And you're just
Mhm.
like, "Oh god, this is gonna go downhill really fast."
Real fast.
But it's a joke, it's a punchline, and I think that I mean, how many various tea towels do you see with, "Oh, it's wine o'clock somewhere." I
Yeah.
mean, Jimmy Buffett songs, "It's 5 o'clock somewhere." Doesn't matter, we can all drink, it's totally cool. But those were popularized in our generation and beyond, and so it was just like, "Oh, this is fun, let's do it. This is a great time. This is so fun." And I think that
I think we took it to even another level because it's 5 o'clock
yeah,
somewhere is one thing. Shower beers is a completely different level. And that was normal
yeah.
in my generation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am not a beer person. I said that earlier. But if I go and mow the lawn, there is nothing that tastes better afterwards than a shower beer. Like, because it's fun and now everything is great and I'm loosened up and I'm not worried about having grass all over me. Like, I'm just having a great time. And you're just like,
Well, I mean, you also took a
Callie.
shower. So,
Also true. But my point is the same. I'm not grumpy
Y'all
and
are funny.
complaining about having to go mow the lawn. I'm distracting myself with alcohol.
Well, so is there a difference between I enjoy drinking, I need drinking, and I'm avoiding looking at my drinking?
yeah.
I think that that's when introspection really comes into play. I think that you have to be A, sober, clear-headed, clear-minded, and B, honest, like really, really honest, and say, "Hey, am I proud of who I am when I'm drinking? Is this
Yeah.
okay? Could this behavior get me in trouble? Could this cause harm to people in my life, tangentially related or not,
Yeah.
strangers?" And I think
I
that
was
you
just
just have to
thinking
be
the same thing,
honest.
Callie, that I could lie to myself and say, "Oh, I just enjoy drinking," and be an alcoholic. So you have to, like you say, you have to be sober and figure out what that kind of is.
And again, I think that there's just like we've made drinking such a punchline. Like, you're only an alcoholic if you count how many drinks you're having. Those are the only people who count drinks. And you're just like, dude,
Not
don't
true.
don't skirt the responsibility of being a human here. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of not necessarily unrelated, but I do think it's unrelated that probably has exacerbated the issue. And we've talked about this on this podcast before. Generationally, I mean, societally, probably more than generationally, we have shirked accountability to the extreme.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Nothing is my fault.
And just
It's
because it's
someone
my
else's
truth
fault.
makes it the truth.
Yeah. I'm only a drunk because someone else did something to me.
Mhm.
I'm only a drunk because something bad happened this week. Yeah.
I am curious as if you think, especially like in the last 10 years, I'll call it, do you think that this kind of trend to drink less is because we have woken up to research saying, hey, this is not the best thing you can do for yourself. I mean, there was research I remember, especially as a kid, a glass of wine a day helps keep the doctor away. I mean, one glass of red wine is one of the best things that you can do for your health. And then it came out here a few years ago. It's like, actually, that's not really true. Everything in
And today, I
moderation.
don't think you could still come up. I mean, even if you Googled that right now, you're going to find it on both sides of the bench. So I don't know which one is
Absolutely.
true and
Well,
which one isn't.
hey, 60, 70 years ago, cigarettes were healthy.
Not
It's
really,
just
but
marketing.
yeah.
But I'm just curious, do you think that we have woken up to the realities of drinking, or is this just some kind of trend, the same way that avocado toast was there for a bit?
I mean,
Mm.
I think it's probably some of both. I hope that our generation saw enough of situations like I did where it was, hey, I don't want this for myself. I can do this socially and still do it responsibly. Or if I can't, then I need to not participate. I have to have enough self-control to say, I do not have enough self-control to participate at all, so I'm not going to.
That's really hard for some people.
Welcome to the world, little buddy. It's no picnic. Life is hard.
Like I said, you can have fun without it. You just have to think about it a bit.
It's harder.
Yeah.
And
Is
we
it
can do
really
hard
harder,
things.
or are we just not prone to think that way?
We've talked again on this podcast about we have completely gone off the rails in terms of critical thinking. And I think if there is a topic to be thinking critically about, your personal alcohol consumption is a good place to start.
Yeah.
But again, you have to be sober and you have to be really freaking honest.
It's that
And that's
honesty that
hard.
gets you. Stinking honesty.
I am really curious though, if alcohol disappeared tomorrow, what would you have to relearn in society, socially?
If alcohol disappeared tomorrow, what would I have to relearn?
I think I would
I
have
mean,
to relearn to think creatively, to get out of
yeah.
my own head and being worried about what somebody else thought of me because they would still remember tomorrow. You lose that crutch of I can do anything that I want because nobody's going to remember.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hold me accountable. And so I think we would have to relearn accountability.
I mean, there's some pieces of cooking that you'd have to relearn because of adding wine to this or, you know, things like that. You might have to just change that. I mean, becomes chicken broth instead of wine. I don't know. I I I don't think I'm trying to think if I guess I would miss it because I do like having a drink. So I guess
The
I would
relaxation
miss
of
it.
that. Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. But if there were no bars, or would the bars just change? They'd be gathering places without having to throw, what'd you call them, a douche nozzle out the door because they got out of line? I mean, what if it was just a place for people to go and have a conversation,
Who goes
sit
there then?
around?
Because that's difficult to monetize. How do you monetize a social gathering play? Like, how do you charge a cover charge to get into the? No, just go to the park.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here advocating for church. We know this about me. But at the same time, like, what is the common thread that brings all of these people to your gathering spot if it isn't alcohol?
I mean, I think
It's
there
got to
are
be some
lots of
kind of
things that you
shared
can,
belief, shared interest.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think there are gathering places for people with shared interests, gyms, hobby stores, churches, schools, parks.
Games, game
Yeah,
stores.
yeah, golf courses and just sports places in general. You can basketball courts. You can go and find like-minded people to do something. Now, I don't know that those all give you the same social interaction that a bar does. Some of them will give you a similar interaction, particularly now it is much slower going to develop friendships through many of those because you don't have that substance breaking down the social barriers, lifting those inhibitions. So I think the development of those relationships is likely slower, but it's not non-existent.
So, kind of switching gears here, we're ringing in 2026, and we've talked about resolutions, and that's not really any of our things here. We know that from last year's episode, but I'm really curious what you guys think as to why alcohol tends to be at the top of the list for lots of people to give up, especially for a dry January.
Well, because they've been drinking every day pretty heavily since Thanksgiving and they're tired of the hangovers. It would be one guess of mine. Here's the thing. A lot of people who do drink consistently and constantly are well aware that they shouldn't. So a New Year's resolution is a great excuse to say, I mean, even if, because particularly if you are in a social group that does a lot of drinking, to come in and say, hey, I have a reason. I'm not just drinking because I don't want to drink, because that kind of excuse, particularly for older millennials and the generations prior to millennials, that's hasn't really been normalized as much, particularly within those circles.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, I have a New Year's resolution where I'm not going to drink for the month of January. Oh, okay. And people will respect that. For some reason, that's totally acceptable. But hey, I'm not drinking tonight is not. I
I
think
think
it
it
could
could be
be
all of
any
those.
and all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And just because I'm extra curious and want to really drive this part home, do you guys think that there are people out there who don't drink alcohol who are enjoying their lives?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And
I
the
mean,
reason,
I don't think your dad is unhappy.
yeah, I think that the reason that I bring that up because I want us to kind of normalize that as totally acceptable behavior.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with not drinking.
And you
You can
feel that
still
this
enjoy it,
generation isn't doing that?
I
Yeah.
think.
I just think about, we do a fish fry and they generally we have some couples I mean it's pretty much a BYOB and there are people who don't drink at that and nobody says anything to them. So I think it's there. Maybe it's maybe it's only in some social circles.
Well, here's the thing. These are people who are not a group of friends because they have always drank together.
Mhm.
True.
That's not where their social connection comes from.
True.
Which is why I brought up the church earlier. What is your shared common thread to tie a group of people together? Theirs is high school.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a common thread, I think it's much harder to get people together.
Yeah. I agree with you.
We talked I'm trying to remember which episode it was on, but we talked about maybe the optimism one about reframing things. And so I think that it would behoove us all in general to reframe the way that we look at alcohol, especially the giving up of alcohol, instead of looking at it as giving something up, looking at it as all of the things that you're gaining, all of the things that you're getting back by not having alcohol as a part of your life. You are not having hangovers. You are not having this exorbitant bill at the liquor store, however often. You are not worried about your actions from last night that you don't remember and what that may be. You're gaining all of these other freedoms that I think that we can put stock in.
I mean, I think there's a middle ground. I think that for some people, that middle ground is really difficult to locate. I think for a lot of people, it's very much a razor's edge to walk. And I think it would be easier to not walk it. But that also means losing friendships in some cases, losing that reason for social connection, because that's just what you know.
I think that it's like a muscle, right? I am going to limit myself to 2 drinks. And the first time you work out might be hard. I really wish I could go and partake, and they're doing shots, and I want to be part of the group, but I'm limiting myself to 2 drinks. And then the more you exercise that muscle, the easier it becomes. You don't have to give it up completely, but you do have to put in some work, especially at the beginning, and it's harder and you're sore in those moments, right? You haven't used those muscles as frequently. And so, especially in my experience, really, really backing off of alcohol, it was like, God, they're going to give me a hard time. I'm not going to tell them that it's water in my cup. I'm just going to pretend that everything's normal. I'm going to carry my drink around and nurse it or pretend that I'm drinking it, but not really be.
Being a little kind, considerate of other people.
Well, and
So,
I think that that whole everybody's fighting a hard battle, you just don't know what it is thing really applies here. We don't need to give each other a hard time about anything.
yeah,
Especially in this vein. Like, you have no idea what somebody else is going through. And so be kind, be supportive, and be present.
that's good.
It is.
Well, we kind of have a weird thought to go with this.
We do, we do. So, here a few weeks ago, there was a story going around in the news and on social media and things about a raccoon. There was a raccoon who broke into a liquor store, made a big mess, breaking bottles and drinking alcohol, who
Pecan
then
whiskey.
really, it was specifically
It was
pecan
pecan
whiskey?
whiskey.
Gosh, that's even funnier. But he got drunk and stumbled to the bathroom of the liquor store and passed out at the base of the toilet, and
Been
it
there,
was
buddy.
hysterical. They had photos of it. Yeah, been there. But there were photos of it, the mess that he had made, the trail of broken bottles and booze that he had left along the way, and then this little poor raccoon passed out in the bathroom.
Sleeping it
Bless
off.
his heart.
But the funny part is, it turns out that he is not alone as the only drinking alcohol animal.
Not
So
at all.
animals accidentally get drunk all of the time. Raccoons or bears with fermented fruit. It could be birds flying into windows after they've eaten overripe berries, which again would be essentially fermented fruit.
Yeah.
Monkeys stealing cocktails from tourists in various locations. Elephants, I can't even remember what we were talking about, but we know that elephants are lightweights in drinking.
I
But
believe it was
elephants
in the same
getting,
article as the raccoon.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
One of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Elephants getting
Talking about
tipsy.
you don't want to invite the elephant to go on a bender with you because they're really lightweights,
Yeah,
despite their weight.
that's so funny. But they are not necessarily chasing a buzz, they're chasing food.
Although there allegedly are some animals who may be chasing inebriation. There are some dolphins who have been witnessed kind of messing with a certain species of pufferfish, potentially for the side effects of the neurotoxin released by the pufferfish. And there are some monkeys that will bite and rub millipedes over them, and the neurotoxins from those millipedes have a narcotic effect. There's just some really interesting, just kind of interactions that have been witnessed of like normal practices from animals, cats with catnip.
So we're not
But
really teaching them our bad habits. They just are coming
no,
by them on their own,
naturally, yeah.
naturally.
But if
Getting
you
tore
happen
up from
to
the floor up is just Mother Nature, apparently.
And if you happen to have been hungover and missed the story, I'll make sure to put a link to some of the photos in the show notes of this raccoon because he was cute. It was
He was
funny.
cute, but he was snockered. Bless his little heart. And the good
Totally
news
drunk.
is they did rescue him. He did sober up overnight and they did release him back into the wild. So he went to raid another liquor store another day, but he was kind of funny.
Oh my gosh, too funny. The photos are just really, again, I'm making the punchline alcohol all over again, drunkenness. So sorry about that, but he was pretty cute.
He was cute. They were not really impressed with the mess that he made because he apparently made quite a mess in the aisles.
Had to get that pecan whiskey. That's funny. Okay. Well, Mom, have you got a good news story for us this week? Kicking off the
I
year
kind of,
strong?
this one kind of impressed me. There is a guy, his name is Nate Mackabog. Maybe I mispronounced that. Was just voted one of the best 30 of 30 in Forbes. And he met a guy while he was in university in London. He met a man who was quadriplegic, and they began to talk and they developed a new kind of prosthetic. This is the part that really shocked me. Worldwide, globally, only 1 in 10 amputees has access to a good prosthetic, and that could be cost or fitting or whatever it is. And I mean, I think this hits me because I had a sister-in-law who did have a prosthetic, and I remember going through some of the trials with her of her learning how to fit and where it didn't rub and it didn't cause sores and all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking 1 in 10 globally only has access to prosthetics, these are designed and built and they're much easier. You can actually order these on the internet with just a few measurements that they can give you. And they're kind of made out of fabric instead of a lot of plastic and metal. And they're made so that you can change out the ends so that you might have fingers on some, but you might have something else on another one. And so it was just really fascinating that they've developed this company called Koala, changing the way that prosthetics are made and delivered. It was a fascinating story. Just a really feel good that here is an opportunity for people more worldwide to have access to prosthetics.
Well, and I thought what was so cool about it is they took all of the kind of limiting factors as to why people couldn't get them and address them really directly. So, in general, prosthetics tend to be very labor intensive. They tend to be very expensive. They're made of all of these really hard fibers so that they're durable, and they end up being really uncomfortable for the end user, even after you go for multiple fittings and multiple tests and all of these things. And so Koala has gone through to make all of these fabric like sockets. And instead of saying, okay, this is the one that's going to fit Callie and it's custom made for Callie, it's a more off the rack idea concept. So it's, hey, this is a small, medium, and large. And because they're fabric instead of a hard, rigid material, they're much more applicable to a much wider audience. And so
Well,
I thought it was
and
cool.
with Charlotte's, it had one purpose. It was to allow her to walk. She couldn't run with it. That was a
Mhm.
different kind of prosthetic. So you had to go through that whole
Another one.
process and the expense of a whole different one if you wanted to do something different. So these are interchangeable. The ends are interchangeable. So you're getting more for less money.
They
They were
can be
really fascinating.
fitted really quickly. They're much more affordable. They've got these modular attachments so that you can change them out to use with whatever your daily activity is. Like one of their big things is people who are working out, doing yoga and everything. Like if you're doing this pose or that pose, you can't use most prosthetics. And so they've gone through and addressed that and said, hey, we want to give people their lives back. We want to make this so much more versatile. And so now they can do most of these fittings virtually, and you don't ever have to leave where you are in order to have them come to you, to be fitted for them and have the opportunity. One of the things that I thought was super cool as of November of 2025, the Koala Company won a bid to be included as an approved supplier in the UK for the National Health Service of like their list of people that you could use. And so it makes them that much more accessible to a much wider audience of people who need them.
It's interesting that a friendship could develop a product like this that could make a difference in so many people's lives.
They started doing this. Nate was in engineering school, and he was doing this just as a class project, and it developed into, hold on, wait a second. Let's make this
We can
a
do this.
serious progress. What was his whole thing? His whole goal in being an engineer, even before this prosthetic thing came about, was to make something that would help make one person's life better. And they've
And
sold
now he's
over
made
50
thousands.
or 5,000 of them and sent them over to 50 different countries across the world to help people.
So good job.
It's cool. Way to go, Nate. And the
Yeah.
whole koala team.
Yep.
But
Good story.
yeah,
So,
we'll put a link in the
okay.
show
Well,
notes
y'all
for that one
behave
too.
yourselves for New Year's Eve and the rest
Don't
of the
say that. It's
year. And I love you.
I love
I do
you
too.
guys.